everybody. Thanks for joining us on today's episode of Into the Overhead. Josh is on sabbatical because he just didn't want to be here because he doesn't love me enough. But I am here with his wife, Heather. How you doing, Heather?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I am doing quite well. Thank you for joining us. It's great to have you. I wanted to chat with you for a bit because in one of my conversations with your husband, Josh, he told me that you are not really, I guess, okay. I don't want to say, I don't know what to say. What is your feeling about Josh being a cave diver? Let's start with that.
Okay. So most of the time I do get a little, what's the word? Emotional, maybe. Because like, it kind of scares me when he goes into a cave because I'm not sure like what's going to happen. He always gives me the, hey, if I don't text you by this time, then call this person. And if I don't call you by this time, then give me maybe like 30 minutes more or so. And then if not, then call this person, obviously. But it is scary, but I think it's not as bad as it used to be, I guess. I would say.
So you're adjusting, you're getting used to it?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Do you feel you're getting used to it because you're building confidence in Josh's ability as a cave diver, or you're just getting numb to the fact of, all right, he's gone in and out several times. He's been fine. He'll be fine this time.
Both, I think. He's been doing it for so long that I'm getting used to it. And he, every single time, like if he's doing his rebreather, he has a list. And if anybody is with us, especially the person that he's diving with, he will strictly tell them to not talk to him until the list is done. Because he wants to make sure and double check that just everything has been completed on the rebreather side. So he knows that it'll be complete and ready for him to go.
Okay.
I think kind of the same thing.
Sorry, for people who are listening or watching, Josh is one of the co-hosts of this podcast. Heather is his wife. This is kind of like an episode about the life of the wife, or in parentheses, significant other, and the concerns that they have for people who are crazy enough to go diving into an overhead environment like a cave or, deep penetration onto a wreck. We as divers obviously want to be there. We enjoy it. We love it. We think it's great. For me, it's a very zenful place. For the significant other, like Heather, sometimes it can be frightening, stressful, can cause multiple layers or levels of anxiety. Correct me if I'm wrong, Heather. For someone who doesn't have the passion, or for someone who has not been what we call bit by the bug, it can be an emotional roller coaster. Would you agree with that statement, Heather?
Big time, yes.
Okay.
I know.
So go ahead.
I know the very first time he got cave trained, everything, I was perfectly okay. And then the very first time that he went into a cave and I was there at the site with him, I was a mess. I had so much anxiety. I was super stressed out. I didn't know what to really feel because I just had a wave of emotions just hit me like all at once. And I had some of his friends, like multiple of his friends, tell me he's going to be okay. He was trained by the best, said blah, 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 blah. And so I was okay.
I didn't train him.
Okay. Second best.
Just kidding.
But it definitely was stressful. But afterwards, like I was getting ready to dive myself. because I am only open water.
But
so
you are a diver.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I was certified to become one, but I haven't dove in quite some time due to equalizing issues. But yeah, so it was very emotional, but the more he does it and the more times that I go with him, I become kind of like even more okay with it. I'm not as stressed out. I do still get stressed out, obviously, but my anxiety is nowhere even close to how it was in the beginning.
Okay. So give me a little bit of back history. How long have you and Josh been married?
We actually just got married in March, the very end of March.
I'm so sorry.
Thanks.
All right. So it's been April, May, June, July. So about 5 months.
Yeah. God, it's been that long.
Congratulations,
Wow.
first of all.
Thank you.
Very cool. How long have you known Josh?
For like 3.5 years now.
Okay. How long has Josh been a certified cave diver?
He got cave certified January of 2020, 2021. I think it was
So with about a year or two ago.
2021, yeah.
But you knew him when he got cave certified. You guys were together when he was doing his training.
Yes.
Okay. So how many dives did he have before he met you? Was he open water certified at that point when he met you?
Yeah, he was open water and advanced, I believe, at the time. But he wasn't diving until I was getting ready to be certified. So I don't know. He's had quite a few because he's up there in diving numbers. I just don't know how many.
So he was already open water certified when you met him. Mm-hmm. You were not. You've been certified since you've met him, and he's gotten his cave certification since you've met him.
Yep.
Okay. So see, for me and my fiance Shelby, it's been a little bit different. I was cave certified before she met me. I got my cave instructorship since she's met me, but she met me and I was already a cave certified diver. And for everybody listening, I think she's going to be interviewed somewhere down the road because she has a whole story of her own to tell in, being with someone like me, which is a lot to talk about. So
why? No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly. That's what I keep asking her. She says I'm handsome and she loves me. And I say, no, I'm not. And why? But whatever. Anyway. So were you there when he did his first training dives?
No. He was up in cave country for like the entire week. And he stayed up there.
And you were not there?
No.
But you were also not as concerned or stressed out or anxious about it at that point yet either.
A little bit, like a little part of me was, but no, not really, I guess. Just a little part.
So then he finishes his class or his training and he gets his certification from the instructor he got it from, who I'm aware who his instructor was. Awesome dude. He actually did my open water instructorship back in 2016.
Nice.
So can you try to explain to me what the difference was from then until now and what started the cause of your anxiety? Was it just literally you being on site when he went into a cave, watching him swim into that hole in the ground and saying, wait, where the hell did he just go?
So yes, I think watching him dive down into the hole, or I think most of it was me getting into my head about it, because I haven't seen the big parts of underwater caves. I've only seen the little parts of underwater caves because he likes to watch YouTube videos and torture me with all of those because he knows how high my anxiety can get just by watching those. So watching those and then not realizing like you could drive semi trucks through the caves and everything.
Some parts.
Yes, there's some parts. Yes. Him telling me that kind of helped. But at the time of like watching him dive down into the hole and not wondering like or realizing where he was going, I think that was also one huge part of it. But looking at it now, I don't know what's changed. I know he checks his equipment 4, 5, 6 different times before he actually does the dive, just to make sure everything comes out like spot on, exactly where everything's supposed to be and working properly. And just the beginning of his dives when he first started doing them with me at the site. I don't know. I think majority of it's just anxiety, me getting into my head about it.
Okay.
And not knowing where it was going to come out. So,
Josh, if anybody who's not listened to prior episodes of Into the Overhead, just so you're aware, Josh is not only an open circuit diver, he's also a rebreather diver. Heather had mentioned before about going over his checklist. And that is a super important part of building your rebreather. Yes. And I have the same mentality. If someone tries to ask me anything or get my attention for anything at all, even if it's my kids, if I have to stop, I will literally go back to my checklist and start from step 1 and go over everything. Because if you miss one step on a rebreather checklist, it can go really fast right down the drain. So checklists are important.
Big
Question
time.
For you, Heather. Are you as stressed out or anxious or nervous or whatever you would want to call it? Are you at that same level if he's doing an open circuit dive as compared to a rebreather dive or a closed circuit dive? Or is it just the cave and the overhead that does it?
I think it's all of it, honestly, because the first dive that he went on with me at the site, he was open circuit.
Which site was that?
Jenny Springs. And then it was kind of the same way with the rebreather, only because he would crack jokes and it's like, haha, yeah, it's funny. But in reality, it's like starts getting into my head about it. And you can easily overthink what could go wrong, especially with a rebreather. And knowing that he's going into a cave is just, it can be scary, but I think it's all 3 of those.
Okay. Do you have faith in your husband when it comes to his diving abilities?
100%, yes.
So it's not him. It's just the fact that you as a diver understand that anything can go wrong at any time. No matter how well you follow your checklist, no matter how many times you check every single piece of gear, everything is going to be fine right up until the moment that it's not.
Yep, exactly. And there have been so many times where he has come out and he's putting his stuff away and we're on our way back home that he's like, oh yeah, I had to bail out, but like no big deal. And he starts telling me the story of why he had to bail out. And I'm like, are you serious? You don't think this is a big deal? Like, come on. But I mean, yeah.
I don't think that's a big deal, provided proper gas planning is put in place and there's enough open circuit bailout gas available.
Yes, I think it's just me personally, but I don't know. He, of course, has everything that he needs for the bailout if it needs to happen. But I maybe it's just a me stressing out thing, but I don't know.
It's potentially, the love of your life in a situation that in the blink of an eye, I hate to say it, it could be, time's up.
It could go wrong. Yeah. Yep.
Absolutely. And my fiance and I had a long conversation. I was her cave instructor. She started with Ed Sorensen at the cavern level, and she has some things in her past that have taken up a lot more of her mental space than they should have at this point, and she's gotten way better with it. But when she swam over the hole at Vortex Spring, it just got in her head, and we went to go do a tie off, and she was just in the open water, needed to run a line, and she wound up thumbing the dive. And it took 3 years for her to address all of those gremlins and demons before she wanted to try again. And once we started, I had then become an instructor, and I stepped her right from the very beginning. We started at Cavern again, and it took me like a year and a half or almost 2 years to get her full cave certified. Again, that will be another episode somewhere down the road. We took as much time as she needed. I am the type of instructor that will not say, come on, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. You'll be fine. No, because you won't always be fine. But the moral of this story is that once she got cave certified, because she has her own kids and I have my own kids, they're now our kids, but we don't have any kids together. I told her, I said, listen, I know plenty of people that will not cave dive with their significant other because they have kids together. So I told her, I said, if we're ever on a cave dive together and it's a question of me coming out or you coming out, it's her. And she's, no. I said, well, then I'm not cave diving with you. And I could be wrong. I don't think she has plans or interest in cave diving with anyone. I can't say that because she's actually gone cave diving with others. But in the beginning, she didn't want to cave dive with anybody but me. And luckily, she's gotten comfortable with doing that with other people. But she actually cried when we had this conversation for quite a bit. And it took her, if I recall correctly, a couple of weeks for her to be able to say, hey, you know what? Okay, I'm okay with that. If it's got to be one of us, it's going to be me. And that's the only way I would cave dive with her. It's a harsh reality. It really, really is.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's kind of how I feel with even me being open water. When I got certified, I didn't want to dive with anyone else. And Josh was like, hey, you get open water certified and I'll dive with you. And then boom, he gets cave certified. And I'm like, seriously? So now you don't even want to dive with me. You just want to go cave dive all the time. Okay, fine. But he still made the time to open water. I know cave diving is like super cool, apparently, from like what all the cave divers say. So,
well, all the cave divers will say that, and all the non-cave divers will say, you guys are freaking nuts.
Like me. You guys are freaking nuts.
It is. So I'm sure you've heard the phrase being bit by the bug, right? It starts out at open water level, being bit by the bug. Literally, if you get bit by the cave diving bug, you can just take your 401k and say bye.
Oh, yeah.
It's nuts. It really is nuts. But for the people that get bit by the cave bug, they're comfortable with it. They're okay with it. They can accept the fact that at any given moment it can end. But it's so peaceful and so zenful. And I really can't go a week of diving in Jackson Blue, because it's a public park also, without having at least 17 people say, hey, how deep did you go? And what's down there? Here's the news. Ready? This is important. Listen to this. This is like so exciting. We get to see wet rocks. And people are like, okay,
what do they expect?
What's the glory? What's the point? There literally are places that I have been where there have been less people on the surface of the moon.
Yeah. Which is crazy. It's crazy awesome to think that.
It's awesome if you have the right type of mentality.
Yes. See, I don't know if I have the right mentality for that. Because for
How
me,
many
anything
open water dives do you have?
20, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, I think at least 20, I think.
And for everybody, it can be different. You may never
Yeah.
get bit by the cave bug. You may never have interest in overhead diving, and that's fine. Back in episode, I think it was episode 1, when Josh and I went over our histories and what got us into cave diving, I literally got open water certified because I couldn't dive a freaking cenote in Mexico.
Yep.
Even with all the cash I had, because, that's Mexico most of the time.
Yeah.
The dive master I was with would not take me in to follow the gold line. So I came back and got open water certified, knowing my end game was to get into caves. So I didn't know what I was going to think about it. I didn't know if I was going to like it. I think I wound up falling in love with it, which is why I try to teach people to do it safely. But it definitely takes a certain kind of mindset. People are like, well, I'm claustrophobic. Like you said before, there are so many places where, 5, 6, 7, 10 times the size of my house.
Mm-hmm.
It's not all small, tight, bottle of restriction type stuff.
Yeah.
Different strokes for different folks. That's all I can say.
Yep. Josh has said that you could drive cars through some of them, semis, freaking airplanes through them. It really all depends on where you dive.
Different systems, different areas, different sections, different passages, whatever it may be.
Yep.
So there are so many caves that you can go into where you never have to go into anything where 2 divers cannot pass side by side, which is a minor restriction. Major restriction is removal or manipulation of gear. There's a lot of places that you can do all of that with none of that, if you get what I mean.
Yeah.
So you said before that Josh took you into Dene, or you went to Dene with Josh. Have you been into Dene at all? Have you been into the ballroom, which is open to open water divers?
I have, and just being overhead with that environment, it freaks me out.
Okay.
But it's fun.
Can you tell why? Why does it freak you out? What about it freaks you out?
I don't know, honestly. Because I can see where the exit is.
Right. Daylight.
Yeah. I don't know.
So
I think it's
still within the cavern zone.
Yes. I don't know. I think it's an anxiety getting into my head. Like, I can't get out, but even though I can see the exit light, I don't know. I don't know. It just freaks me out.
Okay. I'm going to ask you some questions. They may be too personal. If they are, please tell me to STFU. Okay.
Okay.
Have you been diagnosed with any type of mental disorder as far as PTSD folks, I'm not a clinical psychologist. So if PTSD is not a mental disorder, please forgive me. I'm just a dive instructor. So have you been diagnosed with anything that could be considered, maybe that's a better word, PTSD or any type of mental trauma in the past?
Yes, but not anything that pertains to diving or anything overhead or.
Okay. Has there been any type of physical or mental abuse in your past?
Yes.
Okay. That could play a role in this. I'm speaking from personal experience. Okay.
Interesting.
May or may not have something to do with it. Again, I'm not a clinical psychologist or psychiatrist.
Yeah.
But I know from personal experience that can definitely have a play in here. Do you feel, if you think about it, do you feel you've gotten beyond that part of your life? Do you think you've overcome that?
Yes.
Okay, so you can consciously think about it and say, yep, it's in my past, no more issues anymore. Have you considered the fact that that could play a role in the anxiety that you feel?
Wow.
For the record, everybody who's listening, I did ask Heather beforehand, is there anything that's off limits? And she said no. Heather, please feel free to tell me to shut the F up.
Well, no, I understand. No, it literally, like, it just hit when you were asking me those questions. That could be why my anxiety is like that with, like, the overhead stuff, feeling like I can't get out and having those past issues. I mean,
and even in the cavern, when you're on your way in, guess what? Until you turn around, you cannot see the exit.
Yep.
And a lot of people have issues with not being able to see the exit. I know several people who will not go into a restaurant and sit down at a table unless they can see the front door.
Yeah.
There are a lot of things that play positives and negatives in your head with stuff like this. So, and I'm not trying to cure you of anything. I'm not saying you have anything even wrong with you. I'm just trying
You've cured me.
For the people who are listening and for the people who are watching, this is all about, like I said earlier, the life of the wife or significant other. Only because, let's be honest, it is a predominantly male-dominated sport. I'm not knocking the women. I think female tech divers, female cave divers, I'm going to marry one soon, hopefully. So I think it's fantastic, but it is still predominantly a male-dominated sport. So whoever that other person is, male, female, however you identify, it doesn't make a difference. There can be a huge mental play from your own past or their own past that can have a play here. Mm-hmm. I just want to make sure that you consider that, Heather. If just realizing it helps, then I think you've gotten to a point where maybe you can say, hey, it's not that big a deal. Josh goes into a cave. Josh comes out of a cave. Dene goes into a cave. Dene comes out of a cave. Plenty of divers go in and out of caves all day long, every day. Some don't come out. And that's the harsh reality. But just the fact that you're a cave diver and you willingly go into a cave, hopefully that your instructor gave you good enough instruction that it forced you to realize there may be a day someday when you don't come out.
That's the scary part. For me, at least, being the significant other, it is.
I agree. I agree. That can be very frightening. I have told my fiance, Shelby, hey, listen, I want to go one of two ways. Either with her, having a lot of fun, or cave diving. If I go either one of those ways, please, for the love of God, don't have a wake. Don't mourn my passing. Throw the biggest party that I went in one of the two possible ways that I would be completely and totally happy.
Yeah.
It is a harsh reality to the significant other that is not a cave diver, but it's still a harsh reality. And I don't know. I don't think I know any couples that have actually split because someone started cave diving and the other one wasn't okay with it. But I'm sure there are people out there. Like, hey, if you're going to do this, I'm out. I'm like, all right, bye. It can be that addicting as a hobby. I don't want to say sport because sport tends to make you feel some type of competitiveness. And cave diving should not be a competitive sport at all. So
definitely not.
It's a hobby.
Yeah. We consider it as a hobby as well.
Cool. Very cool. Yep. So do you think there will ever be a day where you're like, all right, cool, let me know when you're out? Like okay with it that it won't bother you?
I think I honestly have gotten to that point now. To where he's like, all right, I'm gearing up. I'll text you like when I'm about to get in the water. I said, okay. Have fun putting your stuff together. And he's like, I'll text you around this time. And he always gives me maybe like 30 minutes to like an hour extra just in case. Maybe he gets moving a little bit slower to get into the water. So then he has the extra amount or whatever the case may be. But I think I've gotten to that point now to where I'm just like, okay, I'll see you at such and such time. Have fun, love you. And that's it. except for the months that I work weekends. And I'm having to work at the exact same time that he's diving, especially if we're busy, because then time just flies by, and then I'm looking at the time and I'm like, oh my God, he still hasn't messaged me. What? Yes, exactly. Yeah. So that's the only time, but I think I'm at that point now to where I'm like, all right, have fun. Love you.
Cool. So quick little story for everybody listening. I have a pretty good friend of mine who is a past student of mine, and his nickname, are you ready for this? Is Still Not Dead David.
Oh my God.
And he got that nickname because he would actually, when he first started rebreather diving, he told his wife, hey, I'll be out by this time. And he got delayed. And I don't know if he got delayed building or getting in or whatever, but it ended up being delayed coming out. So when he told his wife, hey, I'll be out by this time, and that time came and went by a long time ago, she wound up calling me, couldn't get a hold of me. She wound up calling the shop. Ed races to the park, find him. By that time, he was now out of the water, and he was just delayed. But he had given his wife an out time that had passed, so his nickname became Not Dead David. And then it happened again.
Oh, no.
And then it happened a third time. So his nickname is now Still Not Dead David, and he has adjusted his dive planning with his wife that it hasn't happened in quite some time. So please, for the love of Pete, tell your husband he really needs to, if he gives you a time and then he gets delayed getting into the water, he should text, hey, half hour late getting in, I'll be a half hour later coming out at least.
Yeah.
Right? Setting expectations is super important, even if you're on a closed circuit rebreather, which can pretty much get rid of all the time stress, distance stress, and gas stress of open circuit diving. But it can still be stressful for the significant other. So that's something that everybody should consider.
Yeah, he does give me the extra time, so which I'm thankful for, because he knows how bad it freaks me out.
Cool.
So yeah,
I will suggest that when I go diving on my CCR or on my rebreather, I will actually go through my checklist, and it's written on paper. I don't have a digital copy or anything.
Yep.
I literally have it on a piece of paper next to me. When I am done, I actually sign it so that when I pass, or if something goes wrong where I end up in the hospital or whatever, there is a copy that I signed, and I actually write okay to dive and put my signature on it with the date and everything. And the very next thing I do, I take a picture with my phone and send it to my fiance. So if something goes wrong, she can forward it to Ed. And if something happens to the original piece of paper, there's a copy that can say, all right, everything looked good on his breather. He went through his checklist. Everything was fine. Let's move on to the next possibility. So I want it to be clear that at no point did I get distracted or something, or skip a step or whatever. And if that thing is not filled out, I will not dive it.
Yep. He, Josh kind of does the same thing. He gets the piece of paper. Even though he, kind of made an app for one of them. But he gets the piece of paper. He goes through every single one of them. When he gets done with every single one of them, he either check marks it, or he will like initial each part of it. And then he'll put like a check mark on the very bottom of the piece of paper, basically saying that he's done. So, but taking a picture of it and then saying like, okay to dive, everything like that, that's actually pretty smart. Pretty smart idea, just in case like it does malfunction or whatever the case may be. So smart.
Cool. So I will say, I just took something away from a comment that you said. Pardon me. I usually just put a check mark or an X in all the boxes.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take handwriting into play. I'm actually going to change my plan now, and I'm actually going to put my little initials on it. So my handwriting is actually in every step, not just once on the bottom.
Yep. It makes sense. And helps.
So let me ask you, you said before that now you're okay. Now it's like, hey, have fun. Great. I love you. Let me know when you're out.
Yep.
What changed? What made the difference? Can you think back and pinpoint that one turning point where it went from, oh my God, to whatever. If it comes back, whatever. It's all good.
Whatever.
The answer is life insurance.
I was thinking in my head, but I was like, no, that's too cruel. No. I think it was just the more he did it and the more times I went with him to the site, it made me more comfortable. Knowing that, I can't say knowing that he would come out okay, but I don't know. I think it was just the more times that he did it, and then the more times that I went with him to the dive site, just made me more comfortable.
Okay. Do you think that there may be some type of and again, not a psychologist, so I don't know what the exact terminology might be, but do you think it might be a point of kind of like the boy or the girl who cried wolf? So many times you're worried about something and never. And then, I'm worried about it. No, it's fine. Oh, no, it's fine. I mean, I'm not going to worry anymore because it's always going to be fine.
I don't know.
Something to think about.
It is. Anyways, check your chat.
And for anybody that's listening or watching, please understand this is not about me talking to Heather, Josh's wife, about Heather and Josh. This is just to help you guys think. We lost your video. This is just to help you guys think and contemplate how can this play into our relationship, or, my feeling how my significant other goes when they go cave diving or open water diving or wreck diving or whatever it may be. This is not the Dene and Josh show and let's interview Heather. This is about let's open up the thought process and bring things into your mind that you might not have thought of before. Cool?
Yeah.
Sweet. So what's next for you, Heather? If you're now okay with Josh going cave diving and it doesn't bother you as much, do you think now, as opposed to 6 or 12 months ago, do you think there may be a day where you might actually take a cavern class?
Probably not. I don't know.
What is your enjoyment of open water diving?
Just scuba diving in general, I guess. Josh wants me to get advanced done, but with me personally, I don't mind. Like I think it would be cool to get done. But I feel like the more dives that I've done, the more my ears have hurt every single time for my equalizing issue that I have. So I need to look into some type of surgery or something to help that. And then I would continue getting certified.
Have you seen an ENT?
I have seen an ENT, but not one that specializes in diving.
Okay.
So
what did the ENT that you saw say?
For an ENT that doesn't specialize in diving, what do you think they would tell me?
Don't dive, of course.
Exactly. That's exactly what she said.
Hey, if your body doesn't like this, don't freaking do it. Hello.
That was the first thing they said.
Any scuba diver would say, hang on, I got something in my eye. Hold on. So,
Exactly. Yes.
but did they give any kind of diagnosis as to what might be causing this discomfort? Did they actually check anything, or did they just say, "Hey, if you're discomfort, don't do it"?
Yeah, they checked my ears. Apparently, I have scarring in my eardrums, and I asked what that was, what that could be from, and she said it could be from ear infections as a little kid. As I have heard that while being certified, because even during certification, even trying to go down to 6 feet, the pressure would start and it would just start hurting, which is crazy because that's just a regular pool. And so I asked her like what I could do, and she was like, well, I'm going to do like a hearing test. I was like, why do you need a hearing test? I don't get it. So I just never went back to her, but I did some online like researching and everything, and there seems to be like a surgery that could be done. I just don't know like enough information about it or how to go about getting it done. But if that does work and does help, or if I find other ways to help, then I will be getting more certifications just at the time that I want, I guess.
And it should always be at your pace, without a doubt.
Exactly. Yes.
Tell Josh to stop making faces. I could tell by the smirk on your face he's doing something stupid.
He said stop making faces.
Don't actually tell him. When did you get open water certified?
I got open water certified December of 2020.
So a year and a half ago.
Yes.
Okay. How many dives do you have total?
20 or 21, I think.
And what's your max depth been in all of those dives?
60 feet.
So you've been to 60.
Yes.
Okay. How long did it take you to get to 60 feet?
Like 20, 25 minutes. Just to get down to like 20 feet, honestly. It takes about that time.
Okay.
And then my ears pop and it's like extremely painful.
Your ears pop.
Yes.
And when
I try to equalize the entire time.
And when your ears pop, the pain gets worse.
Just the initial, like, very first pop. And then after that, it's like a piece of cake.
Okay.
It's weird.
Has anyone looked in your ear since then?
No.
So do you realize there's a chance you might have actually blown your eardrum?
I don't know. I know the day that I certified, I am most positive that I like busted capillaries in my sinuses, which didn't hurt, didn't bother me, nothing. I felt fine. But with my ears, not that I know of.
So I will say, as an instructor, I often teach people who come up from a dive of any depth, even 20 or 30 or 40 feet. And when they take their mask off, there's a little bit of residue of blood, and sinus bleeding, it's a little bit more common. I've actually seen people the day after a dive, when they get mask squeeze, they actually have the broken blood vessels. I don't know if they're arteries, capillaries, whatever they may be. Like if you get punched in the eye and you have that little bit of red in the white of your eye, I've seen that from mask squeeze. But from my history of diving and teaching, if you feel a sharp pain in your ear and it gets worse when you hear a pop, it's called a blown eardrum, and that's not good. So please, before you get back in the water, go see a diving ENT specialist.
Yeah, I'm not gonna.
Check.
Yeah, I don't tend to get back in the water until I see someone about it who actually can specialize.
When was the last time you were on a dive?
Oh gosh, I would say maybe almost a year ago.
Okay.
So it's been quite a while.
Okay. Have someone check it out.
Yeah.
There's so many things I want to say that are none of my business right now, so I'll leave it alone. You should definitely get that checked out before you even get in the water to do a 10-foot pool dive again.
Yeah. I know I went down to we have a neighborhood pool. And I went down maybe 4 feet or so, and I got water in my ear, and I was just like, nope. I immediately got out from under the water and got the water out of my ear, and it's just, it was uncomfortable. So I didn't do it again, obviously. But yeah, I don't intend to do any of that type of stuff until I actually see an ENT who specializes in diving injuries and diving in general. So
cool. Let me ask you a question. Do you think that any of this specifically, your pain, your discomfort, your diving experiences and your diving history, do you think any of that plays into the feeling of anxiety or nervousness about Josh when he goes diving?
Maybe a little bit.
Okay.
I think some of it is only because even though he's doing cave, I still want to be in the water with him. I still want to, because at Blue Hole, he can go down, and then I can go down into the hole, but I can't do anything overhead, basically. Obviously I would have someone with me because I need to have someone with me being in open water. But I think it does play a small part.
Okay. Cool. Now you just said you need to have somebody with you to go where? Into an overhead?
Well, no, I mean, being open water. I mean, do you need someone else to be with you as an open water being certified? Because, I mean, last time I checked, you needed.
Okay, so let me clarify something here. There is a very big difference between being an open water diver and going into an overhead and being an open water diver and going into an overhead. So
yeah,
there are where I dive and where I do a lot of my instruction is at Jackson Blue Springs, which is in Marianna, Florida. And up into the sign and even other places, cavern diving is anything that's inside the overhead.
Yeah.
If you don't have a direct descent to the surface, it's considered a cavern dive as long as you have daylight zone and you're within 200 linear feet. Should you have somebody with you? Yes, you definitely should. First of all, not just because you'd be doing a solo dive if you had nobody with you. And I am not against solo diving. There's nothing wrong with it. I do solo dives fairly regularly. But as an open water diver, going into an overhead, you should only be doing that if you are with an overhead instructor.
Gotcha. Because I know.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
Okay. So I know with only being open water certified, I would need someone with me, but I would stay being open water the entire time, which was what I was trying to say earlier. But he would go into a cavern zone, but I would stay back with my partner during the open water a dive, basically. But I kind of forgot where I was going with this, which happens all the time. But yes, being open water, you still need a buddy, which I had a buddy at that time. But anyways, your turn now, sir.
As an open water diver with 20 dives, you should always have a buddy.
Yes.
I will 100% agree with that.
Yep.
Until you take a solo diver class or even if you don't take solo, so to speak, or I think there's an agency called Patty that has like a self-reliant diver class. I don't know. But at 20 dives, you probably don't have enough experience, background, and overall knowledge that you should be comfortable with the fact that you can self-recover, self-rescue, self-repair, whatever you want to call it. So having a buddy is always a good thing.
Yep.
I actually took a solo diver class. I don't even know how long ago. I think it was 2016. No, 2015, something like that. It was shortly after I got my full cave certification. I personally feel that a properly trained full cave certified diver is one of the best divers on the planet, far above and beyond even a solo cert. But I took a solo class because a buddy of mine asked if I wanted to take it, and it was with an instructor that I hadn't used for anything before. So I wanted to get his viewpoints and philosophies on certain stuff. So I did it. I didn't get much from the class that I didn't already have other than this instructor's viewpoint. Mm-hmm. But there should be a point where you say, hey, I'm ready to be on my own. And if not, then you should definitely have somebody with you. Yep. But being able to dive on your own and being comfortable with being alone is a pivotal point in a diver's history, background, path, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, hopefully one day you'll get there. I'm pretty sure Josh is probably there already because having the experience and background and training that he's had, even if he'd rather not ever be solo in a cave or solo diving, let's be honest, buddy diving can easily become 2 solo dives if you get separated.
Yep, it can.
There's a realization there that everybody should take into play and consider, hey, I've got a buddy with me, until you turn around and...
Where'd they go?
Where'd they go? Exactly. 100%. So, has Josh ever gone on a solo dive? Starting out as a solo dive? In other words, hey, honey, I'm going on a solo dive. And you said, oh my God, you're by himself. What's going to happen if something goes wrong?
I don't know if he has. Maybe once, but I don't remember. He usually tells me like he goes with a buddy.
Okay.
I don't know.
Have you ever thought of the fact, hey, he's going diving with, I don't know, let's say Mecca. I know Mecca is one of his regular dive buddies on occasion. Have you ever said, well, what are they going to do if they get separated?
I have never had that thought in my head.
I'm sorry.
I mean, with Mecca, I haven't. I don't know. He's a really good diver. I mean, I don't know. Now with others, yes. But with Mecca, no.
Are there any buddies that Josh's has, or that Josh's has? Are there any buddies that Josh dives with that you think to yourself, or even say to Josh, hey, could you reconsider this dive? I mean, besides me, obviously.
Boy, you would tell me about that one. Maybe 1 or 2. But then again, like I've never seen them dive until they, like, Josh and them get done and Josh tells me all about it, and I'm like, okay, now that makes sense. But It's typically not until like the dive's already done. And then I'm like, yeah, never again. Please don't.
And how does Josh respond to that?
He doesn't argue. He says, yes, wife, whatever you say. As he snickers.
That is a smart man. Yes, dear. Cool.
No, well, he listens, especially if I have any concerns as to like his dives and stuff. He sits there and listens. He doesn't brush it off like, yeah, okay, whatever you say.
Good for him and good for you.
Yeah.
That is something. Listen, for everybody listening or watching, the dynamic of, even if your significant other is a diver, it's a little bit worse in my opinion if they're not a diver, but even if they are, if there's a concern, as with anything in a relationship, but specifically with this, hey, honey, you're going to the store, you know what? Bypass this route because I saw there was an accident. That's one thing.
Yep.
Hey, I'm going for a dive. Hey, you're not going with that guy, are you? Because last time you told me it was like a freaking horror show.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely a concern. Definitely should be addressed. Definitely needs to be open and honest communication with anything in diving, let alone cave diving. So very cool. I will say this. I don't know if Josh has any interest in becoming an overhead instructor anywhere down the road. If you are ever interested in taking a cavern class, even if it's not to go overhead diving, but just to get the added skills involved, if Josh is not, I would be honored to be your instructor.
Well, thank you.
You are very welcome.
I completely understand because, you know, for me, at least, when it comes to Josh teaching and everything, it is sometimes maybe more helpful to have someone else do it rather than your significant other. But I don't know. We'll just see how it goes and see if I do pick up any more certifications or if I even want to. So
there are, I know, wow, I don't even know how many instructors I know at the open water level, advanced open water, overhead, whatever. I know a lot of instructors. And I also know most of those instructors will not teach anyone in their close circle, so to speak.
Yep.
Kids, significant other, parents, whatever. Me personally, I'm okay with it. I mean, I trained Shelby. I've trained my children. I don't know that I would trust many other people to do a decent enough job that I would trust that they would get the training they need, that I would be okay with them going and diving with anybody that they may end up diving with.
That's exactly Josh too.
I listen, I have not taken a class with Josh. I have not shadowed or watched one of his classes or training sessions. I know for a fact I have been called by my students some words that I can't repeat in public or online. So,
oh my goodness.
The one word starts with D and has 4 letters in it. I am a strict instructor. I have
which is good
standards. And just to take a moment, thank you, Ed Sorensen. He was my IT for all of my overhead training. But it goes back even further than that to Dan Patterson when I took my cabin and intro class at the diver level. It is a relentless, unforgiving environment, and it needs to be addressed that way. So I'm okay with that. I don't trust a lot of people out there when it comes to my personal loved ones. So again, if Josh wants to train you and he's an overhead instructor, great. If not, or if you don't want him because there's some type of concern, if you want to reach out, I'd be happy to.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that.
Cool. Awesome. Any last or closing remarks that you would want to add to this that might help other significant others out there on the internet with their diving loved ones?
It gets easier the more they dive, and on you per se.
I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, do you think it's because you're building trust in their abilities, or do you think it's because you're just coming or becoming numb to that feeling and you're just like, all right, it was fine last time and 2 times before that, so it should be fine this time?
It's mostly because of the trust. But there is a little bit a part of the numbing feeling, of knowing, okay, he did fine like the first time. Cool. He did fine the second and third time. Okay, there was one small little hiccup with the fourth time, and then I don't know, it's just the more times you do it, it's just, I don't know, it just gets easier.
Cool. So I don't know if you want to call it the numbing effect, but for lack of a better phrase, right at the moment, let's call it that. So
Yeah.
The numbing effect, hey, it's been fine, 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 it's been fine. I get it. I totally get it. Please don't forget the fact that at any given moment, it could end up not being fine. Don't be shocked,
I
don't be
know.
surprised.
Yep.
You know, his response to a certain, whatever you called it, that little issue or that little snafu or whatever it may be, if he had not been trained by the person he was trained by or not properly trained to respond to that issue in the way he did, it could have went 180 degrees, the total opposite direction.
Yep.
Cool. Heather, it was great chatting with you. It was great talking to you. It was great finding out so many things about the life of the significant other. Hopefully this will help some other people down the road, next week, next month, next year, 5 decades from now, because the internet is forever. Who knows? But
Heck
thank
yeah.
you very much.
Thanks for having
sitting
me.
with me.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for sitting down. I was a little concerned as to whether or not that you actually even wanted to. I thought maybe Josh was, hey, come on, sit with Dene. He'll be fine. I'm not, just so you know. But it was definitely a pleasure. You and I have not had much interaction so far. I've been, friends with Josh, and we will be getting together, I believe, on the 17th of August. And we're going to be shooting some really, really, really promising episodes.
Sweet.
It's going to be awesome. It's going to be awesome to meet you on that date. Hopefully, or maybe I'll get to meet you before that. But if not, at least by then, we'll get to meet face to face. And
Heck yeah.
I'll get to give you a great big hug and talk to you in person.
I will be looking forward to that. That'd be cool.
Awesome. Everybody, we're a little over an hour. We were targeting 30 minutes. I apologize. It's a little bit more than that. Thanks for joining us on this episode of Into the Overhead, the life of the wife or significant other.
Yes.
Talk to you guys soon. Don't remember to dive as if you want to go home.